Welcome back to Elevate from Burnout to Bliss. I'm Reggie.
And I'm Ebony. And today we're diving into a topic that we know personally all too well, procrastination.
Yep, that thing we all swear we're going to stop doing tomorrow. Whether it's hitting snooze on your dreams, delaying important conversations, or putting off that business idea you've been sitting on for years, procrastination has a sneaky way of stealing our momentum and much more.
And the truth is, it doesn't just cost us time, it costs us peace of mind, progress, money, and sometimes even relationships. In this episode, we're getting real about how procrastination has held many people back and kept them stuck in neutral.
No guest today, guys. It's just us stepping on some toes, giving you some hard truths and practical tools that will help you stop delaying and start doing.
So if you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or just caught in that cycle of, I'll get to it later, this one's for you. We're breaking the silence on procrastination and showing you how to take back your time, your power, and your purpose.
Let's get into it. So, Ebony, if you will allow me, I want to start this episode off by saying something directly to some of the listeners before we get into it.
Okay, go ahead.
Some of you all are not successful right now because you won't stop procrastinating. All right? Some of you should have been a millionaire years ago, but instead you chose to procrastinate. Some of you have a business idea. Some of you are on the short list for a promotion. Some of you are just a decision away from a different life. However, procrastination is more important. So I just want to put that out there right at you before we get going, just so you can know where we're coming from today. If you are always, and I want to be sure that this episode is targeted at the right people. So here's how you're going to know if you're the right person to listen to the rest of this. If you're always pushing to meet a deadline, then this episode is for you. If you find yourself avoiding the task, the hard task that you know need to be done, that'll benefit you to do it, but you find a reason, and it could be, quasi-legitimate reason, but you avoid the hard task, then this episode is for you. If you find yourself busy but not productive, then this episode is for you. So, Eb, I'm going to say that, to a degree, we're all guilty of procrastination at some point in time. But what we're talking about today is that habitual procrastination that keeps people stuck in neutral.
That's right. So there was an article in a research study by Frontiers in Psychology, and it showed that 75% of students that they studied described themselves as habitual procrastinators.
Yes, exactly what we're talking
meaning
about.
That is their habit. And the thing is, those students become working adults.
Right.
And unless there's some type of intentional shift in behavior, those adults are also going to be habitual procrastinators.
And so let's do this. Let's talk about, and everybody, I want to talk about first what procrastination really is.
Okay.
We all know it's putting things off, but I want to dig a little deeper. So in preparation, I actually did some research just to I wanted a textbook definition that I could work off of. Here's what I found. It says, when we talk about procrastination, it's more than just putting things off. Procrastination is the act of unnecessarily delaying or postponing something despite knowing that there could be negative consequences for doing so.
Wow.
So let me underscore that. Two things I want to underscore in this definition. The act of unnecessarily delaying despite knowing that there's going to be some negative things to come with that.
Right. And usually what you're ignoring or putting off or delaying is something that is unpleasant to you, but extremely important.
Right.
And instead of doing that thing, you do something else that's more pleasing, but less important.
Less important. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And procrastination is often confused with laziness.
It is.
So I want to clear that up.
So what's the difference?
Well, procrastination, they may appear similar, but they're actually vastly different. As I mentioned, procrastination is unnecessarily delaying something that needs to be done, whereas laziness is a lack of effort. So simply put, procrastination is not doing something. Laziness is doing something halfway. Or my grandmother would say, Well, I can't say how she would say
You
it, but
can't
she would
say
say half butt.
Right.
All right. That's
or having apathy towards it.
Yes, you're indifferent towards it. So that is definitely the difference. So again, they may appear to be similar, but they're actually vastly different.
And sometimes even though we're talking about the root causes of procrastination, some ways that it will display itself is that people will overestimate the amount of time that they have to complete something, or underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take to complete it.
Right.
So they're getting right down to the buzzer, but don't really have an accurate view on how long it's going to take.
Absolutely. And again, the reason why, you say, well, I wonder why they chose that topic today. Because if you're going to go from burnout to a blissful state, if you're going to really break free and get to that next level, you have to slay this demon called procrastination. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, I've seen so many people being held back because they won't get out of their own way. Mm-hmm. They procrastinate on the important things that would make them take that next step, that next jump to their own goals.
Right.
The goals that they've set. So what I want to do is actually look at the reasons why, and we're gonna help. We're gonna get down later on into tips and things to overcome it. But before we get there, let's help the listeners understand some of the reasons why they may be or they are procrastinating.
Okay.
All right.
So researchers have shown that the reasons why people procrastinate can be grouped into 3 basic categories.
I saw that too.
Mental health conditions, emotional issues, and other factors. They just kind of grouped everything else into other.
Okay.
So with mental health conditions, one reason why people may procrastinate is ADHD. So if you procrastinate, that doesn't mean that you have ADHD, but it's the inverse. ADHD may be the reason why you're procrastinating because it's just you have a difficulty in focusing on the task at hand.
So if you know there's something that you have been diagnosed with already, then you may be more cognizant of, okay, this is possibly why I'm procrastinating on some of the important things. Okay, I got you. Well, I saw anxiety is a reason people procrastinate. Again, to avoid those tasks that bring anxiety. So here's the thing about that one. It's kind of a loop or a cycle. They have anxiety, so they avoid the decisions that create anxiety. However, the anxiety or the procrastination leads right back to the anxiety.
Right.
So
it's a cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. So that's another reason that the study talked about, why people sometimes procrastinate.
Depression is another one.
Yes.
You just sometimes have a lack of motivation and energy when you're depressed. So it's going to be difficult to complete anything. And a lot of times it takes being down to the buzzer just to get you to act. Yeah. Low self-esteem is another reason. People that don't have a healthy view of themselves will procrastinate and put things off. Because with that low self-esteem also comes that lack of confidence. And they will avoid the tasks, again, that need to be done. But I want to add something to this. Not just fear of failure, because sometimes that lack of confidence will help people, well, not help, but hurt them into procrastinating, but also, too, fear of success. That is true.
Fear of success would do it, too. People will mute their own, and I'm going to tell you, I think I may have shared that before. That's something I had to get over. Sometimes you will mute your own success to make other people comfortable. And you will put off the things that will bring you more success because you being successful makes some people around you uncomfortable. So you dim your light so that they can, you really got to get over that thing.
Actually, fear of success could be its own episode.
Yeah, it probably should.
It goes deep.
Yeah, fear of success is.
And a lot of people suffer from that.
They do. And we talk more about fear of failure, but that fear of success thing is really something heavy.
So, in addition to mental health conditions, there are emotional reasons why people may procrastinate. And one, it's kind of like anxiety, but if they have a difficulty in managing emotions, they'll put off things that cause them, that may trigger them or cause emotional response. They'll just put that off until, and again, with procrastinators, sometimes procrastinators don't act at all, or sometimes they just act at the last minute.
Right.
But any type of trigger, you know what? It's our nature.
Right.
We are built to want to make the way easy.
Right.
So who wants to deal with something that's going to cause emotional harm?
Right.
So it's easy to just put it off.
To put it off. You know what? I tell you that this one I've seen as well, and that's perfectionism. Thinking that what you're doing has to be perfect before you can even get started.
Right.
You know, there's another project that Ebony and I are working on that will be coming forward here in a little bit. And as we have been, and that's something we've been working on for the last 2 years, but as we were learning more about what it is that we're delving into, the advice we got was, guys, do not try to make this perfect before you launch. And I'll tell you, we learned about a gentleman who was launching a software, a new software, and he kept tweaking it and adding this feature and that. And he would not come out with the software until he thought it was perfect. Well, by the time he came out with it, the market had changed. The software wasn't relevant anymore. But now he had the perfect, antiquated software on the shelf.
Perfect, but not perfect. Because now nobody needs it.
Because now it wasn't relevant. But he kept tweaking it, kept procrastinating until finally it was of no use. Crazy.
So you got to get out of your own way when it comes to perfectionism. And there's nothing wrong with wanting things a certain way.
No, not at all.
But also realizing that you can work on something. Like the first version, that's why we have the whole word revision.
Right.
That means
it wasn't versions. This 3.1 come out with 3.2.
That wasn't the first one that you did.
Right.
So you can keep working on it and making it better. You don't have to wait until you get.
Well, I mean, just look at people's, whatever their favorite social media platform is. Think about that. You log into Facebook today, it looks nothing like the Facebook you logged into 10 years ago.
Or this morning, me and our girls were talking about remixes, songs that have a remix.
Okay.
And the fact that sometimes the remix gets more playtime than the original song.
Right.
But you wouldn't have had a remix had you not had the original song.
You got to go on and get started.
Yep. What are some other factors?
Well, just poor time management.
Yeah.
A thing about time is the one thing it's like a river. It's a constant flowing river, always flowing forward. You can't store it. You can't stop it. You can't make it go backwards. It moves in one direction, and you have to adjust to time. Time does not adjust to you. And so people, and I'm going to talk about this, or we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but one of the lies people tell concerning time. But poor just not learning to, and I'm going to tell you this, the reality of it is you can't manage time. So people say, well, I got bad time management, I got good time management. You can't manage it because, again, it's always flowing. You can only manage yourself.
That's an interesting
perspective. You can't manage time. I can't, well, let me give myself extra 5 minutes. No, you can't do that. It's impossible. So you got to learn to manage yourself, and you become a good keeper of yourself, and people interpret that as being a good manager of time.
Interesting. So another is lack of motivation. So you all know that the thrust of our podcast is from burnout to bliss.
Right.
And sometimes when you are in that burnout phase, it causes you to have a lack of motivation. So without motivation, there is nothing pushing you to complete whatever it is you need to complete. And then with the advent of social media, our bodies have gotten confused on how we interpret motivation. So it used to be that you would work in something and you would get delayed gratification. Now with social media, it's training our brains to want that even sooner because we can flip through reels in a minute and we've laughed 18 times and gotten this instant gratification. So you also have to manage that within your brain to know that, yes, I need to be self-motivated to get this done, even though the gratification is going to come later.
That's exactly right. You're absolutely right. So, and even when we're talking about, again, so we're talking about procrastination, we're talking about it holding people back, it becomes really suffocating. It leads to, all kind of bad stuff. And what I've learned is that there are different types of procrastination. Talk about that for a second.
So there are two different types of procrastinators. There's the passive procrastinator and there is the active procrastinator.
Okay. What's the difference between the two?
The passive procrastinator is they delay things because of their inability to make a decision.
So they're just stuck?
They're just stuck. They won't do it. They procrastinate because they can't make a decision. The active procrastinator delays it on purpose because they've tricked themselves into thinking that they are better under pressure.
And that's definitely not true.
So, as we're talking, decide if you suffer with habitual procrastination, think about whether it's active or passive.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, here's what one of the things I want to make sure we hit, and that's that the fact that procrastination causes us to tell two big lies to ourselves. All right, and the first of the lies is that I'll do it later.
Yeah.
Think about later is later rarely comes, or it's not that I'll do it later. Or sometimes it is, but it's I'll do it when I'm under duress. When my back is clearly up against the wall. Some people lie said, I work better under pressure, kind of like what you just said. All of that's just simply not true, and especially if you are a leader of people. If there's people that report to you, or if you're the leader of a company or what have you, trust me, even if you think you work better under pressure, it does not mean your team does.
Exactly.
Right? What you're doing is promoting chaos. And the second lie that we tell ourselves is that I have time.
Man.
And I just hit that one. You don't have it because it's always running. You don't know. And you don't even know what, you don't even know how long you don't know if you're going to finish this podcast. I don't know if I'm going to finish this podcast. That's how fleeting it is.
Right.
So we need to stop lying to ourselves and start telling the truth and start making some changes. But guys, stay with us as we get through this commercial break. Got to pay some bills. We'll be right back. Remember, it's time to elevate.
Today's episode is sponsored by P3 Financial Group, where we enrich the lives of our clients by helping them plan, protect, and prosper. Call P3 for all your tax and financial planning needs at 901-209-4015. That's 901-209-4015.
If you're just joining us, this is the Elevate podcast where we take you from burnout to bliss with your hosts, Reggie and Ebony. And today we are talking about procrastination.
Yeah, we're getting all up in your business today.
Yeah, so let's dive into some real life consequences of procrastinating.
Well, you know what? I want to speak to the one I want to talk about right now. We talk about real life consequences. This is on specifically the fellas. All right. One of the things that we do, and I'm gonna include myself in this, and me and some of my friend groups, we made some decisions and accountability partners to help fight through this one, and that is procrastinating on taking care of our health, being timely with the doctor's appointments, the doctor visits, all the stuff that goes along with that.
Because people know men don't like going to the doctor.
Absolutely hate it, can't stand it. And, all the research suggests early detection is the key for a lot of stuff, being able to prevent things or either just being able to get past them. So, procrastinating in this part of your life, nothing good is going to come from that.
No.
Nothing good is going to come from that. And, again, talking to myself and I'm talking to my other fellas that's out there listening. So, as it comes to procrastinating, putting off that doctor's appointment, putting off that follow-up, hey, let's get past that and let's let me say something about that real quick.
Okay.
Real quick. I was at my fraternity's district meeting. And what the person was talking about, they brought somebody in to talk to us about prostate cancer. And they said that down through the years that the research showed that it affected black men more than white men.
Okay.
And what the doctor that was up talking about was, he said later research has shown that's really not true.
Really?
It's not true. He said what it is, white men were more diligent in getting the screenings done. Therefore, they were catching it at an earlier point than black men. Where he said what we found is that when men get tested at the same rate, then there's no difference in the occurrence between white and black men. It's just that black men weren't getting tested.
That's interesting. And not finding out doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Correct.
So delaying it, if you delay it, that doesn't mean, oh, well, I don't have it. I can't get it until I actually get tested.
Exactly.
No, it's still there. You just don't know. So early detection is key.
Yeah, but let's stop putting that off. Let's stop procrastinating that, because that's a bad thing.
And to the women, too, there's some age, some tests that we need to get at certain ages. And so we need to be diligent about getting that done as well.
Yep.
To all my sisters.
What about in our personal life, Ed? Personal growth-wise?
Yeah, so procrastination, again, just it creates a space where you're stagnant. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you procrastinate, it's because you're uncomfortable with the unknown. Mm-hmm. So personal growth is one of those things that's supposed to push you outside of your comfort zone. But if you are too fearful or too scared to do it, then you may miss out on some opportunities for learning new things, meeting new people, just because you won't act because you're procrastinating. And what I've found is that procrastination is a battle between emotions and logic.
That's right.
You know what to do logically, but you just can't bring yourself to make that first step. And really all it takes is the first step. Once you make the first step, the rest of them are easy.
Yeah, it does.
But it's that first step you just can't push yourself to do. And for some, it's a coping mechanism. To whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable, you procrastinate and go into a turtle shell so you don't have to deal with it.
That's true. Mm-hmm. And it becomes an escape, too. It becomes a way to escape.
And one thing, like, take, for example, say you need to improve your public speaking skills. There are ways you can do that through classes like Toastmasters, but you won't sign up for the class.
Because it makes you uncomfortable.
Because it makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
Because it's something that you know you need to work on.
So it's a way of stagnating your personal growth. Great example. Another area, guys, that procrastination can be almost devastating, and that is with some of your personal relationships. You know, let's say, for instance, you and a friend, you and a parent, you and a family member have a strained relationship. And you know, it don't matter whose fault it is, but you know y'all have a strained relationship, and they know it too. You know it, they know it. But here it is. And this is someone that, and I'm talking about that person that means something to you, right? But regardless of what they did to tick you off or what you did, this person means something to you, but you are delaying having a conversation. And the reason why you're delaying is because you think you got time. You assume you have time. At some point, we'll make it right. At some point, I'll go to him. She'll come to me. At some point, we're going to make it right. But here's the thing. What if life had other plans?
Right.
You don't always get a chance to make it right.
You don't.
You got today. If that person is with you, you have today to make it right.
You may not even have today. Like, every single person that got up this morning had an idea of what they plan on doing today.
Right, exactly.
And none of us know whether that's something or nothing. For some people may have planned to do nothing today, but still, none of us know if that's how the day is actually going to end.
That's exactly right. So I would say my admonition to you today is that if that's you, you know, don't procrastinate. Go ahead and take care of it. It doesn't really matter how it comes out. You know you did what you were supposed to do. And I guarantee you're going to feel better about yourself, whether, you know, however it went on the other end of that deal. You're going to feel better about yourself because you did what you did all you could do.
You did all you can do.
So, again, that's, you know, and that's a big one.
That is a big one. That is the big one. So we've talked about how procrastination can affect your personal life, but what about in business?
Oh, man, in business. So here's one thing. Okay, so I heard people talk about, I've heard people say, I've said it myself, that, man, that was my idea. That, you know, you had an idea, and you sat on it, you procrastinated. Maybe you didn't know how to get going. Maybe you did know how to get going, but regardless, you didn't get going.
Right.
Okay, regardless. And then you see that idea in motion. And you're like, man, they stole my idea. Well, that's the idea I had.
But you didn't tell anybody about the idea.
You didn't tell anybody, and now you're looking at Google crazy. Like maybe Google listened to me. But anyway, let me share something with you. Good ideas don't go away because you're procrastinating. They go to other people. And I'm going to break it down. And it's true. They go to other people. What you have to understand is that thoughts are vibrations, right? There's science to back up what I'm saying. Matter of fact, if one of the ways they tell whether or not your brain did, they can measure and see if is there any electricity still flowing through your brain. All right, so thoughts vibrate, all right? And they vibrate the same way you're hearing me now over the air through your radio or via internet, the same way thoughts move. So when you have a particular thought for an idea, when you got a business idea, it's on a particular vibration. You're not the only one listening to that radio station. Other people are getting that same idea at the same time. All right? Listen to me. You get a good idea, that light bulb goes off, you're not the only one picking up that signal. But what happens is some people act while others procrastinate. So when you see that in motion, it's not that they stole your idea. Y'all heard it at the same time. They acted, you procrastinated. Now they reap the rewards. So that's how procrastination can really damage you in the business world.
That is. And if you all want to know more about that, one of the books that we've read and we talked about a few episodes back was The Science of Getting Rich.
Yes, it was in that book, The Science of Getting Rich.
And it goes into that concept deeper.
And that book, just so you know, you can Google it right now. It's in the public domain. You'll get it as a PDF, and you can probably read it in 2 days. You'll be done with it.
And to your point, when people do that, they delay on a good idea. Sometimes it's because they're overthinking. And it ends up they end up having analysis paralysis. They can't move because they can't stop analyzing it.
Yeah, that's right. So, Eb, have you seen anybody's reputation get damaged because, they are constantly missing deadlines or they're constantly behind the 8 ball?
Yes, definitely. People rely on you to do what you say you're going to do. And everyone falters sometimes. They're like Murphy's Law. Sometimes everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. But what is your habit?
Right.
So if you are in the habit of not meeting deadlines, if you're in the habit of not being prepared, if you're in the habit of not showing up when you've told someone that you're going to show up, they will stop expecting it from you. And if that's in business, they'll go somewhere else. If that's at work, they'll give someone else the promotion. And if that's in your personal life, they'll stop inviting you to stuff.
That's true.
Because you're not going to show up anyway. So procrastination can affect every aspect of our lives.
Every aspect of your life, man. So, I hope we are hitting the nail on the head for you. And if it's not you, then maybe we're giving you some tools that you can help a friend or coworker or family member with. But I want to talk about some red flags to look for. And again, if this is you. So we've talked about this earlier. I mentioned, but I want to go a little deeper with it. And that is being busy but not productive. You're busy. I always liken this to going outside, starting your car up, putting it in neutral, and just flooring it. I mean, you got your foot all in the gas.
And you are going nowhere.
But that engine is revving. That RPM gauge is way up to 5. You're running through gas. Oil's pumping. Or if it's one of these electric deals, I don't know what's pumping. Electricity is going through the car, whatever it may be. But the engine is loud. From outside looking in, it looks like this car should be barreling down the road.
And it's not.
And it's sitting right in your driveway. Your life can be just like that.
It can. Like when you're in traffic and you hear this loud, super loud car coming up behind you.
Typically about 3 inches off the ground.
And they going like 15 miles an hour. Like you are keeping up a whole lot of noise to go nowhere.
A lot of noise. But your life can be just like that. You can work from can't see in the morning to can't see in the evening, but that does not mean that you're moving forward.
And you're tricking yourself into thinking that you're doing something and that because you're busy, like you said, but not productive.
Those two are not synonymous. They are not synonymous, man.
You can spend all day having a stack of books and moving it from one side of the room to the other side of the room.
Or making, like what you call said on Django, making big rocks into little rocks.
Right.
And that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. So, and again, procrastination is one of the key reasons that people can be busy but not productive. If you find yourself in that trap, man, please figure out what you need to do to get past that point.
Another red flag is waiting on the perfect time.
Waiting on the perfect time.
There is no perfect time.
Yes, there is now.
Right.
Other than now, there is no perfect time.
There is no perfect time. So just like the analogy, when's the best time to plant a tree?
20 years ago.
But what's the second best time? Today.
That's right.
Today. There is no perfect time. You just have to do it. You just have to act.
And again, waiting on it, I don't want to gloss over that. When people say that, well, I'm waiting on the perfect time to, the market's got to be just right, or I need to plan a little more. Again, it's just avoidance.
It is avoidance.
It's just avoidance. That's all
you
it
have
is.
to be fluid.
Right.
Just because you start a certain way doesn't mean that's how it's going to end. And sometimes you don't know what adjustments need to be made until you actually start doing it. So you have to move, you have to act, and you have to be fluid.
Right. Let me share something real quick. So some of you may know that, Eb and I are both involved in real estate investing. Matter of fact, we had one of our business partner on a previous episode who has assisted us a lot in our real estate investing. A question that I get now from people is now a good time to get started in real estate? Mm-hmm. And I get this question all the time. So it don't matter if the interest rate's up, down.
Right.
It's always, is now a good time to get started? And my answer is always the same, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, rates up. Is it a good time? Yes. Rates are down. Is it a good time? Yes. Because those things, you buy a house at a higher interest rate, it can be refinanced when rates go lower. You buy a house at a low interest rate. It doesn't matter. Is it a good time? Yes.
Right.
All right. Well, the market's oversold. Man, listen, those are all reasons to avoid getting into motion. Mm-hmm. Those are just reasons to avoid doing what needs to be done. But guys, look, we got to get out of here. Well, we're not getting out of here. Hold tight. We have one more segment. In this next segment, we're going to talk about breaking this cycle of procrastination. Stay with us through the break. Remember, it's time to elevate.
Elevate fam, are you a business or brand looking to get in front of an audience that's all about leveling up in life, business, and mindset? Then let's partner up. The Elevate podcast is now accepting sponsors. That means you can get your brand heard by a growing community of go-getters, creatives, and purpose-driven listeners right here on the show. Whether it's a product shout-out, an ad spot, or a custom collaboration, we've got options for you. Want in? Hit us up at elevatenowtraining.com. Let's elevate together.
For this final segment, if you just joined us, guys, today we've been talking about procrastination here on the Elevate podcast. And in this last segment, what we want to do is give you some practical things you can do to delay this cycle of procrastination. Because we've talked about, how to identify if you're trapped in that, and we talked about some of the harmful things it's doing to you as far as being able to move your life down the field, down the road. But now let's look at what can we do to actually break this cycle of procrastination.
Let's go from delay to drive.
Delay to drive, that's right. Eb, let me go first on this one.
Okay, go ahead.
I learned this at a very early age. And one of the things, my mama don't know, she helped teach me this, but I learned, for me, that I wanted to take my whoopings early. I never used to like when my mama used to say, I'm going to give you a whooping when we get home. Mm-hmm. Now, go on and give it to me now. Let me get the worst stuff over. So my entire life, I've always had the mindset, if it's something bad and I got to do it, let me get that over with.
And how many whoopings did you get?
I can't remember. I can't remember. You got to talk to her about that. But Even now, so even in business, if there's something hard I need to do, if it's something I can't quite figure out, let's say, for instance, if I got one thing I can't quite figure out, but then 5 things that I know I can knock out with ease, I devote my time to the hard one first. Because the way I look at it is, let me just get that out the way, then I breeze through the rest of it, as opposed to doing the easy one and then end up avoiding that hard thing.
Yeah.
So I've just been like that for a long time, man. Take my whooping early, get it out the way, and that way I don't have to deal with it again.
And if you're not in the habit of doing that, then that's going to require a mind shift.
It is.
Just like another thing you may need to do as a mind shift is think about progress over perfection. Like, take this podcast. We were presented with the opportunity to do a podcast. We didn't go to a podcast training school. I don't even know if those exist. We Googled what type of equipment we needed and got started. Now, each podcast is getting better and better because we're learning and adjusting on the way. But we couldn't just sit back and not take the opportunity.
Right.
Waiting until we learned every possible thing there is about podcasts. We just had to move.
We did. We absolutely had to move. I want to mention again something about mindset. So Ed mentioned it involves changing mindset. So first of all, y'all, you got to remember, changing your mindset obviously is not something that's easy to do.
Right.
If it was easy, everybody would do it on a dime and you'd be good. You can never go higher than your thoughts take you. So if the programming you have is not producing the desired results, then you truly have to reprogram your mind.
You do.
You do, and there's numerous ways to do it, but you have to reprogram your mind. If your default setting is procrastination, you got to figure out what you need to do to reprogram that thing.
What are some practical tips that we can do?
One of them is the 5-minute rule. And the 5-minute rule is pretty cool when you actually look at it. I'm gonna, if you're taking notes, I hope you're in a position to take notes. But it starts with first identifying the task. So, and I think, Eb, you got something that you're going to share in just a little bit to help with that part. But you identify the task that needs to be done, and then what you're going to do next is set a timer. You're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and
hence the 5-minute rule.
Hence the 5-minute rule. They hit it right in the name of it, and then you're going to focus just for 5 minutes. Just for 5 minutes. Focus during those 5 minutes solely on the task that you wrote down. Nothing else. You're not picking up the cell phone. You're not checking email. You're not doing it unless it was for 5 minutes. You're gonna check email.
Right.
But you're not doing anything else during that time period. You're gonna say, I'm gonna give my full measure, everything I got for just 5 minutes. All right. After that, you're gonna reassess. So the timer's gonna go off. You're gonna reassess. Decide whether you need to continue working on that task or if you need to take a break.
That's good.
Simple as that. And then you just repeat it as needed. If you choose to stop, that's okay. You've made progress. Like you just said, progress over perfection.
This subject is really important to us, and we really, really want to make sure that when you're done listening to this podcast, you have something that can help, since so many people suffer from habitual procrastination. So we've created a Stop Procrastinating worksheet. So I wonder what it's about. It's about stop procrastinating. So it really ties into the 5-minute rule, and we are going to post this worksheet on our Facebook page. It's Facebook at elevatenowtraining.com for you to download. So anytime you feel yourself at a point where it's a task that you cannot bring yourself to complete, use this worksheet.
Say the website, the Facebook page a little slower.
Facebook.com/elevatenowtraining.
There you go.
And we're just going to post it and you can download it from there. But the very first question is, what are you avoiding? So let's identify what task you're avoiding.
And go ahead and be real with it. I need to lie to yourself.
Right.
What are you avoiding?
The next question is, why are you avoiding it?
Okay.
Be real. Is it because you feel overwhelmed? You don't know where to start. I'm afraid of failing. It's boring. Whatever it is, be real with yourself as far as why you're avoiding it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I remember, guys, when I launched out on my own in my practice, I have always hated cold calling. Never been good at it. Back in the day, I had a job at MCI. I lasted exactly 2 weeks on the floor. because I was horrible at cold calling. I just, from the core of my existence, I hate it. But when I had to start my practice all the way over, guess what I had to do?
Cold calling.
And what I used to do, I said, I'm going to devote 60 minutes to it a day, and I would do that first because that's what I hated the most.
And got it out the way.
Got it out the way.
You took your whooping early.
I'm telling you, man.
So the next step is break it down. Mm-hmm. It may be a large task. Let's break it down into small, manageable parts so you can feel that sense of accomplishment when you complete each part.
Okay.
Then set a timer, and then assess it, and think about what your motivational mantra is. For some, it may be done is better than perfect.
Okay.
So just a quote or some type of mantra at the end that's going to help push you through this worksheet, and then rinse and repeat.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So I know I've heard of habit stacking. I don't know exactly what it is, but I did hear that habit stacking is a good way to fight against procrastination as well.
It is. So what habit stacking is, this is where so the goal is to form new habits. Mm-hmm. But instead of trying to go, a complete 180 from a direction you've been going, you just kind of attach a new habit to something you're already doing. So I guess an example of that would be, let's say for a fact every morning you're going to check your email. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and get in the habit. You say, okay, I know I'm going to check my email every morning. Immediately say, let me check my email and my to-do list.
Got it. Okay.
I'm going to attach to my email habit my to-do list habit. And if there's nothing on it, that's a problem. You probably procrastinate, right? Mm-hmm. And then typically before we go to bed at night, most of us are going to do a quick scan of our phone. Mm-hmm. So attached to that habit, I'm going to look at that to-do list and see what I got done. So
that no one makes any excuses. If you don't have a to-do list, attach having a to-do list, actually doing the to-do list. Right. So don't be like, well, I don't have one, so we don't have to worry about breaking that habit.
Right.
So it may be looking at your phone and then creating a to-do list for the next day.
I'm going to go a little step further than that. If you're trying to be a high achiever and break free and do some stuff, you're going to need a to-do list.
You do.
All right, so let's just start there.
But I'm a list maker, but some people just don't make lists. I make lists for everything.
Yeah, but if you're not making a list, it's because you're trying to live out of your head. And again, it's just too much going on, man. You'd have to have an extremely simplified life these days to be able to be a high achiever and not have something written down. Mm-hmm. I just don't see that happening. Another thing I want to throw in there is the digital detox.
Okay.
Digital detox is just what it says. You're dialing back the amount of time you're spending with your digital devices. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you know what? We don't know how much time we spend on these devices, but here's what I do know. Most of the time that you're spending on there, you're probably doing it to avoid something. Mm-hmm. And this could be subconscious. It could be subconscious. Sometimes it's just going on for a laugh. But when you look at the total amount of time, and I think they have apps that do that, that show you how much time you're spending on these devices just doing basically nothing. Just make a goal and say, let me dial it back 10%. Let me dial it back 15%. And then do something productive with that time. Mm-hmm. That's another way a practical way that you can move from procrastination to productivity.
That's good. One of my favorites is time blocking. And this is especially important if in whatever role you have, it has a lot of facets to it. Uh-huh. So my role at P3 is comprised of accounting, but then I also am on the operations side for the business. And those require two different brain waves. You know what I mean? So it's hard to shift from one to the other. So I use time blocking, and I may say for 2 hours, I'm just working on accounting. And then the next 2 hours, I'm working on operations. And that way, I'm more productive in those hours than I would if I'm just taking tasks as they come.
Yep. And if you all ever visit the office, and just if you're going through a hallway, you may see, it's quite common on one of the team members' door. It's a sign. We use a sign to say focus time. Mm-hmm. And we only put our focus time sign up when we need uninterrupted work. Mm-hmm. So team members aren't allowed to break across that sign. That's obviously an emergency, obviously. But if someone has a focus sign on their door, we honor that. We leave them alone because they're going into the zone for the next whatever many minutes.
Yes, and that's been proven very very productive for our company.
Absolutely.
So I want to give you guys an Elevate Challenge of the Week. I want each of you to identify one area in your life or business where you've been procrastinating and take one small action today, whether it's email, phone call, making a decision. Take one action that will help push you past whatever you've been procrastinating. Okay?
Yeah.
Then I want you to go to our Facebook page, again, facebook.com/Elevate Now Training, and let us know what that action is.
Okay.
And we can get some interaction going and support and motivate each other to move past procrastination.
That's great. I'll do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, too, is, again, an accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want you all to treat this procrastination thing as seriously as you would if you're trying to get your health together. And you say, you know what? Hey, man, let's team up and let's motivate each other to get our health together. If you are an habitual procrastinator,
mm-hmm.
you might need some help changing this thing. But here's what I want you to understand. Again, like we said before, you don't have all the time in the world to get this together. It's held you back long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So find somebody that y'all can work together to encourage each other to put this demon to rest,
mm-hmm.
so we can keep pushing and get on to what we need to get on to.
All right, that sounds great. So we are near the end. So let's do a few key takeaways. The first thing in conquering this procrastination demon is identifying what is causing your procrastination. Again, we talked about it could be emotional, it could be mental, it could be other factors. Let's identify it.
Okay.
Then let's think about the ways in which that procrastination has affected our lives, be it in business, personal relationships. And then the third thing is figuring out how to conquer it. And I think we gave you plenty of tips today that can help do that.
Absolutely. And if you have another tip that we haven't thought about, feel free to share that on the page as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we also want to invite you all to share some stories, some wins. Maybe there was a time that you did not procrastinate. Let's look at it on the positive side. You decided to act in the moment, and it paid out for you real good. We love to hear about that.
Yeah,
we love
definitely
to hear about,
share that with us.
Yeah, definitely share that with us. We love to hear about, maybe you did procrastinate, and now because of what happened, it won't happen again. And I tell you what, if you share a story like that, put the hashtag on it. It's time to elevate.
It's time to elevate.
It's time to elevate. That'll help us identify it and find it quickly. And, again, we get some interaction going.
Yeah, so you can also visit us at www.elevatetraining.now for other tools and to learn more about our Elevate class. And I also wanted to let you know that we have launched our YouTube page. Woo-hoo! So all of our podcasts are available on our YouTube page, and the handle is at Elevate Now Podcast.
Oh, good stuff. So, guys, we are about to, another good episode is in the books. We are about to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, as always, if you're looking for me, you can find me on Facebook at Money Jedi. On Instagram, it's the Money Jedi.
And I'm at all social media channels at Eb the Advisor. That's EBTHEADVISOR.
Hey guys, as always, it's been great. We hope this has been beneficial for you. And remember, it's time to elevate.
Join us next week.
Today's episode is sponsored by P3 Financial Group, where we enrich the lives of our clients by helping them plan, protect, and prosper. Call P3 for all your tax and financial planning needs at 901-209-4015. That's 901-209-4015.